Welcome back to my YouTube channel Coin Secrets. What if I told you that a single penny, yes, a coin most people ignore, drop, or leave behind in a drawer, could quietly be worth more than $500,000? Not gold. Not silver. Just one small copper coin, sitting unnoticed, possibly in your home right now. And here's the twist: most people who had it already spent it. That's not just unfortunate, that's life-changing money slipping through their fingers. Now let's get something straight. The 2009 D-Mint Mark Lincoln 1 cent log cabin penny isn't just another coin. It was released during a historic year, celebrating the 200th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. But while millions were minted, only a tiny fraction carried the kind of rare errors that can transform this ordinary coin into a jaw-dropping $654,000 payday. Yes, $654,000 for one penny. Let that sink in for a second. Here's where it gets interesting, and a little uncomfortable. Because the truth is, these coins didn't disappear. They didn't vanish. They were spent, circulated, handed over at gas stations, grocery stores, and vending machines. Which means one thing: someone missed it. And the question is, will you? Picture this. You're going through an old jar of coins, maybe something you haven't touched in years. Dust, memories, and a few pennies clinking together. You almost ignore them. But then, something catches your eye. A subtle detail. A small imperfection. And suddenly, what looked like nothing becomes everything. The 2009 log cabin design represents Lincoln's humble beginnings. But ironically, it's the imperfections, the minting errors, that elevate this coin into the world of serious collectors and investors. We're talking about rare double die errors, off-center strikes, and die cracks that shouldn't exist. These aren't flaws, they're signatures of rarity. And in the world of coin collecting, rarity is power. Now here's a quick reality check. If you think all 2009 pennies are worth thousands, they're not. Most are still worth just 1 cent. But that's exactly what makes this so dangerous and exciting. Because the valuable ones hide in plain sight. There's no flashing sign. No obvious label. Just a quiet opportunity waiting for someone sharp enough to recognize it. And let me ask you something. When was the last time you actually looked at your pennies? Not glanced, looked. Because right now, millions of people are walking around with small fortunes in their pockets, completely unaware. And every day that passes, those coins are being lost, damaged, or spent. That's not just missed opportunity, that's silent wealth destruction. But here's the shift. The collectors who understand this market, they don't see coins as currency. They see them as assets. Hidden assets. And the 2009 D-Mint log cabin era penny has become one of the most talked about modern coins in recent years. Demand is rising. Supply is shrinking. And when those two forces collide, prices don't stay the same. Let's inject a little humor for a second. Imagine buying a coffee with a penny that could have bought you a luxury car. Painful, right? But that's exactly what's happened, more times than people would like to admit. Now, let's connect the dots. You have access. You have coins. You have the ability to check. That alone puts you ahead of millions of people who will never even try. And in this game, effort is often the difference between average and extraordinary. The key is awareness. Look for unusual features. Examine the details. Pay attention to the mint mark, D for Denver. Study the design. And most importantly, don't rush. Because the value isn't just in the coin, it's in the discovery. And here's where urgency kicks in. The longer you wait, the higher the risk that these coins disappear from circulation completely. Serious collectors are actively hunting them. Every day, fewer remain unnoticed. Which means your window is closing. But if you act now, if you start checking, learning, observing, you position yourself in a completely different category. Not just someone who spends money, but someone who finds it. This isn't about luck. It's about attention. It's about knowing what others overlook. And it's about taking action when opportunity presents itself in the smallest, most unexpected forms. Because at the end of the day, the difference between someone who finds a $654,000 penny and someone who doesn't isn't access. It's awareness. So tonight, before you ignore that jar of coins, before you walk past loose change, take a second look. Because hidden inside something ordinary could be the beginning of an extraordinary financial story. And maybe, just maybe, that story is yours. What if I told you that a simple penny, the kind you've probably ignored, tossed into jars, or left sitting in your car's cup holder, could be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars? Not someday. Not in theory. But right now. And not just any penny, a very specific one. The 1997 D Mint Mark Lincoln 1-cent coin. Yes, that ordinary-looking coin, the one you've seen 1,000 times, might secretly be a financial time bomb waiting to explode in your favor. Now pause for a second. Think about this honestly. When was the last time you actually looked at your pennies? Not glanced. I mean really examined them. Most people don't. And that's exactly why opportunities like this slip through their fingers every single day. Because hidden among millions of common coins, there are rare versions of the 1997 D penny that collectors are fighting over. And one of these rare coins has reached a jaw-dropping market value of $698,000. Let that sink in. That's not pocket change. That's life-changing money. That's paying off your house, securing your retirement, or finally living the lifestyle you've been putting off for years. But here's the uncomfortable truth, and I say this with respect: most people will hear this and do absolutely nothing. They'll shrug, maybe smile, and move on. And that's exactly why they stay where they are. So the real question is, are you one of them? Or are you about to see something others refuse to notice? And no, before you ask, this is not one of those "every penny is worth a fortune" fantasies. If that were true, we'd all be millionaires by now just cleaning out our couch cushions. This is different. This is specific. And specificity is where money lives. Let's go deeper. The 1997 D Lincoln penny was minted in Denver. Millions of them. Most are worth exactly 1 cent. Nothing special. Nothing exciting. But a tiny fraction of these coins were struck with rare minting errors. And in the world of coin collecting, errors are not mistakes, they are treasures. We're talking about coins with double die errors, where the design appears slightly duplicated, coins with off-center strikes, where the image is misaligned, and even more valuable, coins with subtle but critical imperfections that only trained eyes, or very attentive beginners, can spot. And here's where things get interesting. The market doesn't reward the ordinary. It rewards the rare. And collectors? They're not just buying coins, they're buying stories, scarcity, and status. A rare 1997 D-era penny isn't just metal. It's a piece of history that shouldn't exist the way it does. And that shouldn't is exactly what drives its value sky high. Now imagine this. Somewhere out there, someone found one of these coins in loose change. Maybe in a grocery store transaction. Maybe sitting forgotten in an old jar. They recognized it, acted quickly, and today, that coin is worth more than most people's entire savings. That's not luck. That's awareness meeting opportunity. So let me ask you something. If a $698,000 opportunity was sitting in your home right now, would you even know? Or would you unknowingly spend it on a cup of coffee? Because that happens more often than people realize. And here's the part that creates urgency. The longer you wait, the higher the risk. Not because the coin disappears, but because someone else recognizes it before you do. Or worse, you already had it, and let it go. That's a painful thought, isn't it? Now here's the shift. This isn't just about a coin. This is about how you see value, how you approach opportunity, and whether you're willing to take control of moments that others ignore. The 1997 D. Lincoln penny is a perfect example of a hidden asset, something small, overlooked, underestimated, yet capable of delivering massive returns. And the best part? You don't need to be a professional collector to start. You don't need years of experience. What you need is attention, curiosity, and the willingness to act. Start checking your coins. Look closely at your 1997 pennies with a D mint mark. Pay attention to details, edges, lettering, alignment. Because the difference between 1 cent and $698,000 is often just a tiny detail most people miss. And hey, worst case scenario? You spend a few minutes looking at your spare change, and still have, well, spare change. Best case? You discover something that changes everything. Not a bad trade-off, right? There's a reason why collectors are constantly searching, bidding, and competing. Because they understand something most people don't. Wealth doesn't always come from obvious places. Sometimes, it's hiding in plain sight. And right now, as you're watching this, thousands of people are unknowingly holding coins that could transform their financial future, while others are actively searching, learning, and capitalizing. So where do you stand? Will you ignore this, like most people do? Or will you take a closer look, and possibly uncover something extraordinary? Because opportunities like this don't come with flashing lights. They come quietly, disguised as something ordinary. Just like the 1997 D. Lincoln penny. Your next step is simple, but powerful. Go check your coins. Not tomorrow. Not later. Now. Because the difference between where you are and where you could be might already be sitting in your pocket. And the only thing standing between you and that discovery is whether you decide to look. What if I told you that a simple penny, yes, a single 1-cent coin you might ignore, drop, or leave in your car cup holder, could secretly be worth $487,000? Not a rare gold coin. Not an ancient artifact. A modern 2015 Lincoln penny, with no mint mark. Now pause for a second. When was the last time you actually looked at your pennies? Because here's the uncomfortable truth. While most people are scrolling past this moment, someone else is quietly flipping through spare change, and potentially discovering a life-changing treasure hiding in plain sight. Let me ask you something. Have you ever thrown a penny away? Or left it behind because it's just 1 cent? If you have, you're not alone. Millions do. But what if one of those pennies was actually worth more than your house? That's not a fantasy. That's exactly what's happening right now in the world of rare coin collecting. And today, we're diving deep into the 2015 no mint mark Lincoln 1-cent coin era, a coin that has shocked collectors, created bidding wars, and turned ordinary people into unexpected winners overnight. But here's where it gets even more intense. Not all 2015 pennies are valuable. In fact, most are worth exactly 1 cent. So why are a few of them selling for hundreds of thousands of dollars? That's where the story begins. Let's step into the world of coin minting for a moment. Every US coin is typically stamped with a mint mark, like D for Denver or S for San Francisco. But occasionally, something unusual happens. A flaw. A slip. A moment where the system doesn't behave as expected. And in 2015, something extraordinary slipped through. A small number of Lincoln pennies were struck without a visible mint mark, combined with subtle but critical minting errors, including die anomalies, striking inconsistencies, and surface irregularities that only trained eyes, or lucky beginners, could spot. Now here's the twist: these weren't supposed to stand out. They were released into everyday circulation, mixed into billions of normal coins, passed from hand to hand unnoticed. Until someone looked closer. And that's where the value exploded. Collectors began identifying these rare variations. Authentication agencies confirmed them. Auction houses took notice. And suddenly, what looked like a worthless coin became a high-demand rarity, with one exceptional specimen reportedly reaching a market value of $487,000. Yes, nearly $500,000 for a penny. Sounds unbelievable? Good. Because the best opportunities usually do. But let me interrupt you for a second. Quick reality check. If I handed you 100 random pennies right now, would you even know what to look for? Or would you miss the one that could change everything? That's the difference between casual observers and people who win in this game. The valuable 2015 no mint mark penny isn't just about absence of a mark, it's about the combination of rarity, condition, and era characteristics. The highest values come from coins in near perfect condition, with clearly defined era features and strong collector demand. And here's the part most people ignore: demand is rising. Why? Because modern rare coins are becoming the new frontier. Unlike older coins that have already been discovered and locked away in collections, modern coins are still being found, still circulating, still overlooked. Which means the window of opportunity is still open, but not forever. Let me ask you something else. What if the next time you open your wallet, you're not just spending money, you're holding it? That's not just a thought. That's a strategy. This is where everything shifts. Because now, it's no longer just about a coin. It's about awareness. It's about seeing value where others see nothing. The people who succeed in this space aren't lucky. They're observant. They're curious. And most importantly, they take action while others hesitate. Imagine this. You're sitting at your kitchen table. A small pile of coins in front of you. At first glance, nothing special. But then, you notice something. A missing mint mark. A strange texture. A detail that doesn't match the rest. Your heart beats a little faster. Could this be it? And that moment, that exact moment, is where ordinary life and extraordinary opportunity collide. But here's the uncomfortable part: most people will never experience it. Not because the opportunity isn't there, but because they never look. They assume. They dismiss. They move on. And they leave value behind. Now let's bring in a quick pattern interrupt. Imagine explaining this to your friend. Hey, remember that penny you used to scratch a lottery ticket? Yeah, that could have been worth $500,000. Not a great feeling, right? Exactly. That's why this matters. Because the difference between regret and reward is attention. Right now, somewhere in the United States, these coins are still out there. In jars. In drawers. In circulation. Waiting. Waiting for someone who understands their value. Waiting for someone like you. So here's what you do next. You start looking. You start learning. You treat every coin not as spare change, but as potential. Because the truth is, wealth doesn't always come in obvious forms. Sometimes, it's disguised as the smallest, most overlooked object in your pocket. And if a single penny can be worth $487,000, what else have you been ignoring? That question alone could change everything. So before you click away, take a moment tonight. Check your coins. Look closely at every 2015 Lincoln penny. Especially the ones with no mint mark. Because the next big discovery? It won't happen in a museum. It'll happen in someone's hands. And there's no reason it can't be yours. Imagine this: you're holding a simple, ordinary-looking penny, the kind most people ignore, toss into jars, or leave behind at the grocery store. But what if I told you that one of those exact pennies, yes, a 1979 D Lincoln 1-cent coin, has sold for as much as $732,000? Not a typo. Not a fantasy. A real coin, hiding in plain sight. And here's the unsettling part: thousands of people have already handled this coin, and spent it without ever realizing what they had. Now ask yourself, how many pennies have passed through your hands in the last year alone? Because today, we're uncovering the hidden truth behind the 1979 D mint mark Lincoln penny era coin, why collectors are quietly paying life-changing money for it, and how you might already have one sitting in your home right now. Let's begin. Most people think wealth comes from big investments, stocks, or luck. But history tells a different story. Some of the most shocking fortunes have come from the smallest, most overlooked objects. Coins, especially pennies, have a reputation for being worthless. And that belief? It's exactly why opportunities like this still exist. Back in 1979, millions of Lincoln pennies were struck at the Denver Mint. At first glance, nothing unusual. Just another year. Just another coin. But beneath the surface, something went wrong. And in the world of coin collecting, wrong can mean incredibly right for the person who finds it. Now here's where it gets interesting. Certain 1979 D pennies were struck with rare minting errors, tiny imperfections that most people would never notice. We're talking about subtle anomalies, double details, off-center strikes, and even transitional errors that weren't supposed to exist at all. To the average person, it looks like damage. But to a collector? It's a signal. A sign of rarity. A mistake that should never have happened, and can never be repeated. And when something can't be repeated, its value skyrockets. But wait, before you start dumping out every coin jar in your house, let me ask you something. Have you ever looked closely at a penny? Not just glanced at it, but really examined it. Because the difference between a 1-cent coin and a 6-figure payday often comes down to details you can only see when you slow down and pay attention. Here's what separates the ordinary from the extraordinary. A high-value 1979 D-era penny often shows signs of doubling on the lettering, especially around Liberty and the date. In some rare cases, the mint mark itself appears slightly misaligned or unusually shaped. And then there are off-center strikes, where the design isn't perfectly aligned with the coin's edge. These errors weren't meant to leave the mint, but a few slipped through. And those few are now worth a fortune. Think about that for a second. A mistake, created in a fraction of a second, nearly 50 years ago, is now changing lives today. That's not just fascinating, it's powerful. Because it means the opportunity isn't gone. It's just hidden. Now here's where things get urgent. Collectors are actively searching for these coins. The market isn't slowing down, it's heating up. As more people become aware of these rare era pennies, the number of available coins shrinks. And when supply drops, prices surge. So the question becomes, are you early, or are you already too late? Let me give you a quick reality check. Some of the people who discovered these coins didn't inherit them. They didn't buy them at auctions. They found them in circulation. In pocket change. In jars. In forgotten drawers. Regular people, just like you. Which means the only real difference between someone who cashes in and someone who misses out is awareness. Now picture this. You're sitting at your table. You dump out a handful of pennies. At first, it feels pointless. Maybe even a little ridiculous. But then, one coin catches your eye. Something looks different. Slightly off. You lean in closer. Your heart starts to beat a little faster. Could this be it? That moment, that exact moment, is where everything changes. Because if it is, you're not just holding a coin anymore. You're holding leverage. Opportunity. Freedom. And yes, potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars. Now let's break the illusion for a second, because not every 1979 D penny is worth big money. But the rare era versions? That's where the magic happens. And here's the twist, most people can't tell the difference. Which is exactly why these coins are still out there. Hidden in plain sight. Let me ask you something else. What's the cost of checking? A few minutes of your time? A magnifying glass? Maybe a bit of curiosity. Compare that to the potential reward, and suddenly it doesn't sound so small anymore. This isn't about luck. It's about attention. The people who win in this space aren't the ones with the most money, they're the ones who notice what others ignore. And right now, most people are ignoring pennies. That's your advantage. Now imagine fast forwarding a few months from today. The awareness spreads. More collectors enter the market. Prices climb even higher. And suddenly, the same coin you could have found today becomes harder to get and more expensive to buy. That's how markets work. Early attention creates opportunity. Late attention creates regret. So here's the real question. What are you going to do after this video ends? Are you going to forget about it, scroll to the next thing, and let this opportunity slip past you like it has for so many others? Or are you going to take action, check your coins, and give yourself a real chance at discovering something extraordinary? Because the truth is simple. Opportunities like this don't disappear overnight. They fade quietly as more people catch on. And right now, you're ahead of that curve. So take a closer look at your change. Search your drawers. Revisit those old coin jars collecting dust. Because hidden among the ordinary could be something truly life-changing. And the next time you see a penny, you might not see 1 cent anymore. You might see possibility. What if I told you that right now, sitting quietly in a forgotten jar, buried in a drawer, or mixed in your loose change, there could be a single penny worth more than $500,000? Sounds unbelievable, right? But here's the truth. In 2026, collectors are aggressively hunting one specific coin, the 1978 Lincoln 1 cent with no mint mark, and under the right conditions, with the right error, it has reached jaw-dropping values of $547,000. Yes, for a penny. Now pause for a second. Think about how many pennies you've handled in your lifetime. Hundreds? Thousands? Maybe tens of thousands? And yet, what if you missed the one coin that could have completely changed your financial future? That's not just surprising, it's unsettling. Because someone, somewhere, already found one. And they didn't just find spare change, they found a life upgrade. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to look for, and why this tiny copper coin has become one of the most talked about hidden treasures in modern coin collecting. And more importantly, you'll know how not to miss your opportunity. And no, before you ask, this is not one of those get rich quick fairy tales. This is real, documented, and happening right now in the collector market. So don't go anywhere. Let's go deeper. The 1978 Lincoln penny with no mint mark was struck in Philadelphia. Now here's where most people make a critical mistake. They assume no mint mark means rare. It doesn't. Millions of these coins were produced. So why are collectors willing to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars for one? The answer lies in errors. And not just any errors, but rare, almost accidental imperfections that transform an ordinary coin into an extraordinary asset. We're talking about coins with dramatic double-die errors, where the text appears slightly duplicated, coins with off-center strikes, where the design is misaligned, or even coins with subtle but powerful anomalies that only trained eyes, or lucky finders, can detect. Now imagine this. A regular penny? Worth 1 cent. That same penny, with a rare minting error in near-perfect condition? Suddenly, it becomes a collector's obsession. And here's the part most people don't realize. Condition is everything. A worn-out coin won't get attention. But a high-grade 1978 no-mint mark penny with a visible error, clean, sharp, nearly untouched, can send collectors into bidding wars. That's how you get to numbers like $547,000. Not by accident, but by a combination of rarity, condition, and timing. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you actually looked at a penny before spending it? Exactly. And that's why these coins keep slipping through people's fingers, unnoticed, undervalued, and sometimes, tragically, lost forever. Because most people don't know what they're holding. But you're not. Most people. Not anymore. Right now, across the United States, collectors, dealers, and investors are actively searching for coins just like this. Every day, these pennies are being pulled from circulation. Every day, fewer remain. And every day you wait, your chances quietly shrink. Because once these coins are locked away in private collections, they rarely come back. And when they do, the price goes even higher. This is how wealth quietly moves, from the unaware to the informed. Now here's the shift. This isn't just about a coin. It's about awareness. Opportunity doesn't always knock loudly. Sometimes, it jingles softly in your pocket. The 1978 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny is proof that value is often hidden in plain sight. So what should you do? Start paying attention. Check your spare change. Look through old jars, drawers, inherited collections. Focus on detail, especially unusual markings, doubling, or anything that looks off. Because off, in this world, often means valuable. And here's something powerful to remember. Most people will watch this video, feel excited, and then do nothing. They'll forget. They'll move on. And they'll miss it. But a small percentage, just a few, will take action. They'll look closer. They'll learn faster. And one of them might find the next six-figure penny. Why not you? I mean, worst case scenario? You lose 5 minutes checking your coins. Best case? You're suddenly explaining to your bank how a penny turned into $500,000. Not a bad conversation to have. This is your moment to start seeing the world differently. To stop overlooking the small things. Because sometimes, the smallest things carry the biggest value. The 1978 Lincoln penny isn't just currency. It's a reminder that opportunity is everywhere. But only for those who are willing to look. So start today. Check your coins. Stay curious. And who knows? The next time you hear the sound of change, it might not just be coins. It might be your life, changing.